Hey, everybody. I wanted to have on the show a very special friend of mine, Gabrielle Maes, who I went to McGill University with a long time ago. And then I haven't really been in touch because she lives in Virginia. And so we're just going to start right away. Before we get into anything, we're just going to start with a song because I thought you would like it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Let's do it, man.
Okay, and what are we going to do, Gabrielle?
And you should. Okay, all right. Let's do Little Mermaid since it's come out now, and since my kids inundated me with Disney stuff, I just kind of came by it because my kids love it when I sing it, or loved it when I sang this stuff. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
You sure, John? Look at the stuff, isn't it neat? Wouldn't you think my collection's complete? Wouldn't you think I'm the girl who has everything? Look at this trove, treasures untold. How many wonders can one cavern hold? Looking around, you would think, gosh, she's got everything. I've got gadgets and gizmos aplenty. I've got who's its and what's its galore. You want thingamabobs? Ha! I got 20. But who cares? No big deal. I want more. I want to be where the people are. I want to see them dancing, walking along on those, oh, what you call them again? Feet. Flipping your fins, you don't get too far. Legs are required for jumping, dancing, strolling along on those, what they called again? Feet. Up where they walk, up where they run, up where they stay all day in the sun, wandering free. Wish I could be part of this world. What would I give if I could live out of these waters? What would I pay to spend a day warm in the sun? Bet you on land they'd understand, wouldn't reprimand their daughters, bright young women, sick of swimming, ready to stand, and ready to go where the people are, ask them some questions and get some answers. What's a fire and why does it burn? When's it my turn? Wouldn't I love to explore the land up above? Wandering free, wish I could be part of this world. Yeah, almost.
That was great.
Hey, that was
Yeah, that,
fun.
that was wonderful.
I love singing that song. It's so pretty, some things that Disney has done in the past, have been absolutely beautiful. Um, yeah, I don't know why. I just love, even though I'm a classical singer, and we're supposed to have very sophisticated taste in music, don't you know? But I love singing Disney songs. They just run and rattle through my head. Also, it just reminds me of when I was a mother, and it
Yeah.
was so fun. Yeah, I'm still a mother, by the way. My kids are still alive.
Well,
Yeah.
not a blessing. Well, I thought that was a great choice because also a lot of people know it and it appeals to
Hmm.
different age levels.
Yeah, I think so. They've come out with a new one now. I haven't seen it, but Maybe I can convince one of my friends to go or something.
Yeah, well, let me explain to the audience why I had you on my channel because Gabrielle is an incredible artist in so many ways. Like she not only is a top world class singer, like in classical and Broadway, but is an actress and also makes her own comedy skits. And so she's super funny, hilarious. I envy her. I look up to her because she plays piano. She has a piano degree, so that's pretty amazing.
Not that that means much these days, but I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, I actually didn't really use my piano much, just, accompanying students. But then about a little over a year ago, I got a job as an organist and a choir director. So I've had to utilize my piano skills, and they actually bought me a grand piano. I mean, talk about divine intervention. And that's always what I always wanted to be, a pianist. So now I have the ability to practice, and also the ability to kind of be behind the scenes and play. And it's really fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And have you always done comedy?
Comedy. I mean, comedy is kind of second nature to me because I grew up with two older brothers, and we would just kind of always banter all the time. Like my youngest brother, who's 6 years older than me, um, him and I were super, super close growing up, and we would just like laugh our heads off and cry. He's much, much, much funnier than I am. I mean, he's just an absolute genius. He's wonderful. And he's a writer now. He writes a lot of that, integrates a lot of comedy into his books. Um, so I had a lot of practice as a kid. Yeah.
Yeah. So and I'll
You
put
too, right? Because you have siblings where you do the same.
yes.
Yeah, we have that in common.
Yep. And
Hmm.
Gabrielle's humor is, if you haven't seen it yet, it can be pretty risky in terms of not being politically correct, but I love it because it's so funny. Like you had this one with your daughters where you were someone with kind of like a health condition that
Yeah.
just over
Well,
the top.
we just looked at that again. My daughter and I looked at it again. She went, "Mom, it's still up," because she put it on her YouTube account like 8 years ago, but now she can't get it off because she can't remember the password, right? So it's kind of permanently there now. And so we watched it together just like a couple of months ago, and we were just killing ourselves laughing, like tears coming down. It's very funny. But seeing it again, with sitting with my daughter and watching it with her after years and years of just sort of forgetting about it was really neat. But
Yeah.
yes, it is risque.
I'll, I'll, I'll put a link below to your channel or website or whatever that
Okay,
is needed.
sure,
And by the
thanks.
way,
Yeah.
I wanted to say to the audience here that this is Zoom, right? So we're just like Gabrielle has her phone or whatever it is, and we're not using a professional studio mic, so you can hear how great she sounds just in the room. So
Oh, thanks, John. That's
that's
nice.
that's impressive. And I've taken a couple vocal lessons with Gabrielle because that's one thing that I aspire to do. That I'll always be working on is voice.
I've taken a couple of piano lessons with you. Actually, I owe you a voice lesson, don't I?
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
no rush, but. So tell me about maybe take the audience just because I think you have a fascinating journey. Take the audience through a brief overview of how you got into music and then your education.
Oh, well, I was a very poor student, actually, very poor. I had a kind of difficult upbringing, but music sort of saved me. I just listened to it all the time as a kid. And because I came from a really musical family, my father was a really good pro pianist, not a pro pianist, but a good amateur pianist. So there was always music in the house, and we'd have all these people over, and we would he would do all this little trios, and I would have to sing all the time for him, and he'd have all these great nursery rhymes from a little kid all the way to an adult. Then we started singing Schubert Lieder together, and I went into piano, and I wanted to be a pianist desperately, but I was really good as a kid, but I only played for about a year and a half with a teacher, and then stopped for 10 years, and then started again, practiced frantically, and managed to get into college. So I did a degree in piano, and I studied in Israel, in Jerusalem, and I really wanted to be a pianist, but I just simply wasn't good enough. I mean, 10 years is a big lapse. You really need to have that ingrained in your body, in your soul, you know, if you want to persevere a career as a concert pianist, right? And so I sat down with my dad, and my dad said to me, listen, you know, you've got a really talented voice. You should sing. Try
Mm.
to sing. So I did a degree in voice, and I did a master's in early sacred music, and ended up singing a lot of stuff in churches. Um, and, you know, oratorio stuff and Bach and stuff, so on and so forth. And so music has just sort of been a part of my life. Everything, really, from, you know, growing up with two older brothers, you know, rock and roll. I memorized every Paul Simon song by the time I was 10 years old. I even wrote him a love letter. It's like, Dear Paul, I love you so much. That's how it started. And like, I just that's all I've ever done, really. And then I kind of branched out into comedy when I was living in Paris, and I was working at the cathedral, Paris Cathedral, as one of the section leaders and soloists. There were some amazingly gifted section leads and soloists there with me, and we'd go out afterwards for, like, of all things, Chinese food in Paris. Can you believe it? But it was the cheapest. We were all kind of poor, and they were so funny that I wrote a show for them. That was my first show, and it was this really crazy, very risque, because the main character was a priest who was overtly homosexual, right, and wore a lot of makeup, and there was myopic nuns and all this stuff. And I wrote it and performed it in the American ambassador's house, with all these kind of well-to-do people, and it was a big success. And I really enjoyed writing, and I really enjoyed working with other people, that kind of teammanship and bouncing ideas off of each other. And then it just sort of grew from there. So I started doing my own shows, and I wrote several one-woman shows. I performed in Singapore, Europe, Canada, the States. And then COVID sort of hit. And also I raised 5 kids. I have 3, but I raised 5 kids and 2 dogs and a cat, living all over the world. So life became a little hectic. And COVID hit, and I lost all my work. So at the moment, I'm blessed to have a job as a choral conductor and organist, and I'm getting work here and there, but I also supplement my income with waitressing and looking after an elderly woman and it's great. I love it. It's really fun. Well, you're doing that a little bit too, eh? So it's kind of nice just getting out into the real world and not being in your head all the time.
Yeah, I wish I'd
Yeah.
done more of that when I was younger. Uh, but it is kind of a thrill. Like I did my first bussing tables a few weeks ago, and it
I
was
know. I heard all about it.
I was so nervous at first. I was just like, what? All these people, and what am I supposed to do? And then, but they just said, just copy so and so, and then I just pretended like I knew what I was doing.
Yeah. Yeah, but not just that, but it's fun being around people, right?
Oh
Again,
yeah.
like just being around that and serving too. I don't know why there's something making a person's evening, which I do when I sing. But when you're serving, you're doing the same thing. You're transporting a person's life and hoping that that whole process of serving a good meal is a really wonderful process for them, right? So it's a kind of service exchange too. And you're
It,
getting the big bucks at the same time. Not
uh,
the big bucks,
no, but
but you know.
it did stick with me like that. It was kind of like performance in that you go backstage and then you come out.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey,
Ta-da! Here's
Gabrielle.
the
Now, I
chocolate
mean, I know you
chalet.
have. I know you can, go on even more about your stories and education. But just before we get to that, can you show us some of your voices? Because you have all these variety. You've got high
Oh,
voices, low voices. You can do male
oh, geez.
voices. You can do small voices, large ones. Yeah, it's just pick some random things that you can.
Well, actually, I'm writing a script with my daughter now because I had a radio show for a little bit. And we were doing radio plays, which was really fun. We just did a few, and then COVID hit, and everything just kind of went, you know. Um, but so I'm writing a character, like just a radio play, and one of the characters is a kind of elderly Italian New Yorker. So he kind of speaks like this: "Hey, ma, ma, where are you doing? What are you going? Where are the hot dogs? Come on, ma." And then you have, like, I don't know, little kids. Mrs. Maes, can I go to the bathroom now? I don't know. You're asking me on the spot.
Yeah, no, that's great though. And you can do, well, even you incorporate it into your singing. Like, I bet you could sing really bright and loud if you wanted to, like really Broadway-ish, or kind of more mellow and more, and you'll maybe show some classical, do a little bit, like a spiritual
Yeah.
song or something.
Yeah. I mean, because I love music and I grew up with all these different kinds of languages. So technique is really technique and it's very solid, but different musical languages require a lot of practice, like learning a new language, right? And so I always just, I don't know, I just like practicing other languages, musical languages, like opera, even though I'm not really an opera singer, but, this sort of that kind of sound, or the Broadway sound. The minute you walked in the joint, I could tell you were a man of distinction, a real big spender, you know, whatever, or jazz. I know so many standards. I like doing everything. And I spend a lot of time, it's play for me, that's the thing. Maybe I don't do it formally, but I love to practice and play at home and figure out different characters and different voices, like you. Just exploring different aspects of my voice and who I am, and you know
That's great.
yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That was so cool to hear that. Can you sing maybe sing a more spiritual church type of song?
What kind of spiritual? Like a Negro spiritual or a Gregorian chant or what?
Well, first of all, I love that you had that answer or that question for me.
Well, I was in a Negro spiritual ensemble for a long time, so I learned, I did. Is that politically correct to say anymore? I don't even know.
Well,
That's
no,
what that's what it's called.
that's what it
So
was called. Yeah. Well,
let me see.
if you want to demonstrate a bit of that, sure.
Okay. Nobody knows the troubles I've seen, Lord. Nobody knows the troubles I've seen. Nobody knows the troubles I've seen, Lord. Nobody knows but Jesus. I don't know. Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool. And then we are going to collaborate at some point, right? I mean, it's easier to do
Yes.
a Justin Trudeau skit if we're in person, but we're going to figure out a way, even if we have to do the first one Zoom style.
Sure. I'm gun ho. You know that, right? I
Yeah.
can't wait. It's
Let's
going to be
just
so
do. Why
fun.
don't we do a little bit right now, a little improv? So, okay, I'll be Trudeau, and you be like a lawyer from the
Uh,
Inquiry.
oh, what am I going to say? What am I going to say?
Just,
John,
just make up something. Just
so
say, yeah.
Mr. Prime Minister, I'm under the impression that that there's rumors circulating that you're interested in banning Christmas. Is this in fact true, sir?
Uh, Canadians don't need Christmas anymore because they've been bad, and we've been watching them, and so there'll be no gifts this year.
Well, sir, have you taken into consideration that this is in fact a holiday that's been celebrated for thousands of years now? What is it exactly that you intend on replacing it with, if you indeed, in fact, rumors have it, sir, that you were born on December 25th. Can you elaborate, please, on this?
That is true, and so I would like to just call it Justin Day from now on.
You're a real.
Well, anyway, so yeah, we'll come up with something. But
Justin Miss.
yeah,
Not Justin, it
oh,
Justin Miss.
that's better. Thank you.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You could write all sorts of songs for those. for the middle-aged ladies with cats who think you're hot.
Hey, so Gabrielle, why don't we finish off with I'm going to let you sing more of a what do you call it? One of those Renaissance spirituals, or I forget what the
Oh,
category.
really? I have to
Uh,
keep singing? You're
I just
asking a lot, Sean.
well, we'll just wrap it up with
Good
that. Like
Lord.
just leave us with
Okay.
some a nice.
Um, all right. Okay, this is a little blessing for all the people out there. Um, this is just a simple mass, the Kyrie from the Mass. Kyrie eleison. Kyrie eleison. Christe eleison. Christe eleison. Kyrie eleison. Kyrie eleison.
That was incredible. Wow, so inspiring. And it's funny you can do all this classical stuff that's very I used to think it as very strict and very serious, but then the next moment you're doing like a crazy comedy skit of like the one where you played the Southern Belle, but who's very like into yoga and spiritual stuff,
Mm,
new age.
yeah, yeah. That was a little experiment. Yeah, it's fun experimenting. As you know, some things work and some things don't, but it's the process really that's like so fun. As long as it brings like joy and pleasure. And boy, do we need that now, don't we?
Oh yeah, and you know
Yeah,
what?
yeah.
You and I talked one time about how politically correct humor isn't funny, and sometimes you do have to take a risk, and you have to be a little edgy for it to be funny, or right?
Well, I mean, making fun of ourselves, right? Making fun of others too is just sort of a part of poking fun, not in a mean or malicious spirit, but just to bring attention to the fact that, in some ways, it's bringing attention to the fact that we are kind of it disempowers racism actually in many ways because it also brings attention to the fact that we're fundamentally all kind of judgmental, and that's sort of thrown out the window when you make fun of everything because it's all in gist, but at the same time it's also extremely healing if you're not so uptight about stuff, you know because some of the best comedians, wherever they're from, they take great pleasure in making fun of themselves and also making fun of others, right? I mean, you got to admit, it's like often that's sometimes the best humor.
Yeah, it's I think of it as like being, the caricatures in the newspaper where it looks sort of like the person, but a little bit changed, right? A little exaggerated here.
Yeah. Mhm.
So I feel like, yeah, we're shedding light on something. Just,
Yeah, and just like not getting so uptight about everything, not being so uptight about who we are, because we're all a bunch of bumbling idiots at times, right? And we're all beautiful, we're all marvelous. And so celebrating the fact that we're human and fallible,
yeah,
and
yeah,
not transforming it or perverting or twisting it into something that it wasn't intended to be, you know that's just unnatural.
that's
You
right.
know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know what? I was in a comedy club recently, and I said to the owner, I said, "Gee, I was hoping my Trudeau impersonation jokes, uh, I I was hoping they would go over well and not be taken the wrong way, because you never know what kind of people are in there." And yet he said, "No, there's no problem because when something's funny, then it kind of softens people for a second, like they."
Yeah, it transcends all that bullshit garbage, right? I wonder what Trudeau would think. Wouldn't that be really cool if he was in the audience one day? I mean, he would never be, but
You never know, right?
he's canceled. You never know.
Yeah. Well, anyways, it was so great having you. I'm looking forward to our skit.
Yeah,
We're doing another
it was
interview.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
we'll
you
do
so much.
something soon. We'll
Okay.
do something. Okay. All right. Well, thanks. This was
Okay.
fun. All right. Have a
Okay.
great day. Bye.
Bye bye.
See ya.